What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today we're going to be having a look at the top 5 most common class mistakes that I see in Call of Duty World War II. With this list, I'm going to try to avoid things that are simply preference based and kind of depend on your own personal playstyle and everything. I'm going to try to focus on the things that are more so objectively bad choices for your classes in this game. Kicking it off with number 5, this is using the high caliber attachment on the 2-shot kill semi-auto rifles in this game. So this is the M1 Garand as well as the SVT-40. High caliber on these weapons will never reduce the number of shots it takes to kill. It's always going to be a 2-shot kill to the body, or even without high caliber, it's always going to be a 2-shot kill to the head. And if we put high caliber on there, it's never going to make it a 1-shot kill to the head on a full health enemy. The only time this would ever help in some very specific situations is if you just happen to be running into an enemy that's hurt just the right amount for that to turn it into a 1-shot kill. But these situations are going to be so few and far between that it is absolutely not worth it to run high caliber on these weapons. Moving on to number 4, this is one that I see all the time still. It's very common to see, and it's not too surprising that people make this mistake because it sounds like it would be better. This is using the combat shotgun with the incendiary shells. For those of you guys that haven't seen the video on this, I broke this down in great detail with the combat shotgun. I will leave a link to that video in the description below. But essentially, just know when you're using the combat shotgun with incendiary shells, the incendiary shells actually reduce your damage range for your instant 1-shot kills. And therefore, in any situation where you're getting a 1-shot burn kill, so you shoot them and then like a second or two later they burn to death, that would have been an instant kill without the incendiary shells, and therefore you wouldn't have given your enemy a chance to kill you. So if you're running those incendiary shells and you're running into a lot of situations where you're getting a kill trade, where you shoot your enemy, they kill you, and then they burn to death, just know if you were using regular shells, you would have simply killed them and you'd still be alive. Keep in mind though, this only applies to the combat shotgun. All of the other shotguns in the game have different damage properties, and therefore it doesn't work quite the same, and generally incendiary shells will be helping on the other shotguns. Getting into number 3, this one might surprise a lot of you. This is generally using advanced rifling on most of the rifles in this game. For every rifle aside from the BAR and the FG42, their damage range doesn't drop off for core game modes until after 51 meters. In this game, with most of the maps, it's pretty difficult to find practical lines of sight that are beyond 51 meters. Even if you're actively going for long shots, a lot of times it can be difficult to get yourself that far away from your enemies. And what this means is the vast majority of your gunfights are going to fall well within a 51 meter range, and therefore in any situation where you're within 51 meters, that advanced rifling attachment is literally doing nothing for you. Now, of course, there are some exceptions for this. On some of the war maps, for instance, you do have much longer ranges, especially like Operation Griffin, for instance. And even some of the regular maps like Gustav Cannon, for instance, that would be another exception to this. Aside from that, the vast majority of your gunfights will be well within 50 meters with your rifles, and therefore advanced rifling is not a great choice on rifles aside from the BAR and FG42. Getting into number 2, this one is a little bit more obvious, and this one will actually pop up when you're creating your classes. This is using basic training skills that overlap with your division training skills. There aren't too many of these combinations that work, but let's just go over them really quickly. First up is using scoped with the infantry division. So the infantry division allows you to strafe faster when you're aiming down sights, and so does scoped. These don't stack. Scoped is useless when it comes to aim down sight strafe speed if you're combining it with the infantry division. All you gain is that reduction to your idle sway, which is pretty small when you compare it to all of the other basic training skills out there that you could be choosing from. A couple of the other ones are going to be flanker as well as inconspicuous with the mountain division. So inconspicuous gives you quieter footsteps but not fully silent footsteps, but the mountain division gives you completely silent footsteps, so that's useless. You basically just gain the ability to move faster when you're crouched, which is a very minor ability. And then with flanker, this one allows you to stay off the enemy's recon, but you already get that with the mountain division, so all you get is the delayed S-mine trigger. The final combination that doesn't stack here is going to be hunker with the armor division. If you're using these together, you don't get super explosive resistance by any means. It's just the same as if you were only using the armored division. With this one, you just gain the ability to throw back grenades, which again, very minor ability for using a basic training skill. So finally, moving on to number 1, I have to bring this up in every single Call of Duty game. This is using the FMJ attachment, thinking that it's actually increasing your base bullet damage. Now, don't get me wrong, FMJ can be great if you're actively trying to set yourself up for situations where you're shooting through cover. However, just know FMJ does not increase your base bullet damage. There are still so many people out there that think this, and this is due to those wildly inaccurate bars that they have in the game, those stat bars that show you the damage and the range and the accuracy. those have always been pretty much completely meaningless in Call of Duty, so don't trust those at all. FMJ does not increase the damage of your weapon, it just reduces the amount of damage that you lose when you're shooting through cover. So it's fine to use FMJ, just don't use it for the specific purpose of trying to increase your damage. And with that, we're going to wrap it up for the top 5 class mistakes that I see in Call of Duty World War II. I'd like to know in the comment section below, is there anything you'd add to this list? I might even do a part 2 to this. I've done a part 2 to this one in previous series with Call of Duty because a lot of people have had great suggestions in the comments. So let me know in the comment section below if there's anything I missed. Again, try to remember that this is supposed to be more so objectively looking at it and not just your preference or anything like that. But let me know in the comment section below, and I just might make a part 2. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.